Hi, MinJee.
Hi.
Welcome to my podcast. Welcome to the channel. Before I start this whole conversation, I just want to introduce a little bit about you before we start asking, just to give one or two lines for our audience who don't really know you yet. I think we connected through internet, as we just discussed, right? It's just like
Yeah,
a
we
random DM to you. I slide into your DM, sorry. Yeah. And I just basically reach out to you because how much of a resemblance I see in my journey to your journey. How you went from career high almost to quitting a job and going on a big travel trip of yours, doing something that you have always wanted to do. And I think that story really speaks to my story. And that's why I really want to have a conversation with you today and to really explore the different sides of our story and your story and see if there are any lessons that we can take away or that anyone can learn from.
wait.
So I think before we record, I asked you to provide me with a quote that best describe how you live your life right now.
Yeah,
And then you said, "What do I have to lose?"
yeah,
Can you elaborate and tell me what does it mean to you right now?
yeah. So I think when you say that, I ask myself, like, why don't I frame it in a more positive way? Like, what do I have to gain? But I realized something important while the past like few months of reflection that before we gain something new, we have to be willing to lose something first. So we have to let go of something that feels safe, familiar, or like socially accepted. And instead of avoiding the question, I start asking myself, what am I actually afraid of losing? And what might become possible if I let it go? So that's why I came up with what do I have to lose?
I like the framing of what do I have to lose. When you first told me about the phrase, it gives me a few interpretation of it. I think the first layer to it will be the parent trying to rewire your brain on how you make decisions. I think it's more about reframing and rewiring your brain from the past way of thinking to a different way of thinking. I think that is the first thing. But I think the second layer to it I find interesting is how you choose to emphasize, as you said, on the losing part.
Yeah.
It almost gives a feeling of like jeopardy,
Yeah.
a feeling of something is in danger
Mm,
that you want to protect against it, right?
yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit more about why do you care so much about what you were winning before, and why do you care so much about losing what you cared about losing as well? Yeah.
Yeah. Because I really value self-development and I learned that in order to grow, I need to lose old ways of thinking. So, for example, the life I thought I was supposed to have, like I realized if I pursued a different path of like whatever, I might be losing certain friendships, people who don't understand my new life choices and relationships built around the old version of me. I have to be ready to lose that to make space for new people who share similar values like yourself. And I always thought you can keep the old people, but still have space for new. But I learned that it doesn't work like that. So I have to take risks of being ready to let go.
Would you say friends are the biggest thing that you are afraid to lose?
I I think they're one of the biggest, but I think my father plays a big part. Like one of the things I had to get ready was to let go of my father's approval of my life choices of going backpacking, of quitting my job, and that led me to have the biggest adventure of my life. And it's like something I'm working on with my dad. Like cuz he doesn't fully understand it, but I think through seeing me, how much I changed and how much I think he's um understanding it a bit more.
Mm. I think a lot of people can relate how the environment that they grow up in
Yeah.
shapes how they think and shapes how like what we're taught to them, right? What did your environment teach you in the past?
Mhm. I think I learned different things from like family, education, and culture. So if we are talking about family, I think especially growing up Asian, like having being stable is safety. having a safe career that pays you normal salary every month and you've built your career where you've climbed up the ladder and you have big responsibilities, that is like success. And I've always wanted to pursue music, even as a child. But I was taught from my dad that music is a hobby and it's not something I can pursue as like a career. So I always had that thought that music can only be the extracurricular, like add on. And another thing is that mental health should be a private matter, something you keep for yourself. But I've been sharing how I feel inside online, and it's really helped me connect with people who are feeling the same way or like them opening up to share their stories. And I find that so valuable that I don't mind being vulnerable and sharing personal stories. So those are the things I'm unlearning.
Hmm. I'll be interested to understand more about how you unlearn it because, as you said, I think especially in an Asian society that I can relate to as well, a lot of the times when it comes to what they taught us or what they teach us, it comes from a place of their understanding of the world.
Yes.
And because their understanding of the world is a few decades ago when hard work equals to success,
Yeah.
and all that they have been trying to achieve will be, as you said, the security, the safety for the family, for themselves, and for the people that they care about.
Yeah.
So I think that is the way that they learn about the world. And I think that is also the way that they teach us because you can only teach what
You
you
know.
know, right?
Yes.
Um, but I'll be interested to hear with you then,
Yeah.
you mentioned about doing and reaching a place where you are fine with sharing your stories a little bit more and making, let's say, your hobbies into not only a hobby, but something that you want to spend and dedicate more time into. You
Right.
mentioned about the word unlearning. How did the unlearning start?
Unlearning, I think, first starts with knowing what you were programmed to operate on, like what rules, climbing up the ladder, like the career ladder, and being successful in that sense. So I think I needed to first point out like what rules that I learned growing up that doesn't serve me. And I realized that to really embody the lessons of unlearning and relearning something that you want, it takes time and it's the small decisions that you make every day. So, while I was backpacking, it's like just choosing daily of what I actually want to eat, who I want to spend time with, what risks I want to take that day, and what adventures I want to say yes to and what no to. And over time, this helps me learn who I actually am and like what rules I want to live by. So I think small decisions that stack over time. And one of the really wise things I learned from my career coach that I have is to do one thing that scares you a day. So, for example, this might be really silly to someone. I really felt insecure about fashion before, like about what I wear, and about wearing tight clothes. And during my backpacking, I was able to like explore what my fashion sense was by like going shopping by myself and like finding that my favorite color to wear is brown or finding tight fit body fitting clothes that is made of like bamboo that makes me feel good. And it's not just about like the look, but it's also how I feel in it. Um, so just small decisions like that.
It compounds.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But what allows you to take that one small step at a time and then to compound into now being almost free from that old beliefs that were taught on you?
Yeah. So I think going back to like what quote I live by, it's what do I have to lose? So I thought about if I continued the same life that I was living, it felt so daunting. Like me just chasing high salary, high position for the next 30 years until I retire. I just felt, when I just think of that, I felt so unhappy, unfulfilled. And I thought, like, while I'm still young, why not bet on myself and give it a chance? And I gave myself a year to fully explore, like, what if this is not the life, then what is the life? And I never regretted it at all. It is scary though because I think there are lots of highs and lows, even daily. You feel you made the right decision, and then you might think, like, oh, I'll never get back to like the corporate world again, or I have to start over. And like, what am I doing? But it's a cycle of feeling doubtful, but how, like, learning how to get back from it and trusting yourself that you can make it happen and make it through.
I think the constant shift between doubting
Yeah.
yourself and believing yourself, I think that is very true and very real.
Mm.
There are times where I am not even sure if this is the right decision, but I have already committed so
Yeah.
much into it that it's almost feels so scared for me to do it and not do it. Like either way seems to be wrong.
Yeah.
But then there are also days where I need to just pick myself up that, oh, I guess it goes back to the reason you start. I think during the journey, your emotions, your motivation might fluctuate.
Yeah.
But if you always goes back to the reason you start, that pushes me through and really allows me to and helps me to continue on this journey, knowing that yes, there will be, as you said, the ups and
Yeah.
downs. But because the reason for me to start this is so strong that no matter where I go, no matter it's a high or low, it will still be worth it. I think the confidence for me at least also comes from there.
Yeah.
Um, one more thing I want to explore is yes, there will be highs and lows,
Yeah.
and having confidence helps. What about safety then? What you mentioned, the job experience that you
Yeah. Yeah.
accumulated, leaving might harm or cost you, and that might be disadvantage to you.
Yeah.
If we know safety to be so important, as you said, safety equals to success,
Yeah.
how are you dealing with the concept of safety right now?
Okay. So financial safety is real. And I think before making this decision, I made sure that I saved enough for me to sustain this 1 year. So before I quit, I had a number that I needed to have before. So I still have like that amount that I can sustain myself for the year. But for the next steps, I wanna trust that if I fully put myself out there, like something will happen, and it might not be the way that I want it to be. So like maybe I won't be earning as much as I did previously, but what I'm doing is so fulfilling. So for example, I posted how I felt and from backpacking, from burning out to backpacking, and then you reached out to do this podcast. And I've never been in a podcast, but this just feels like the right direction. And I've DJ'd in the past, like as a hobby, and I'm thinking of doing it again. And the moment I thought about it, in the airport express on the way back just 2 days ago, I met a friend who I haven't seen for 2 years, and they're hosting a party this weekend, and they asked me to DJ. So just these spontaneous moments like this, I feel like I need to trust that if I put myself out there, like it will come back. And I'm happy to experiment this way. But it's not that I'm only trusting on faith, because I am trying to also build something on my own on the side while putting myself out there.
Were you ever stuck in that so-called analysis paralysis phase? The reason I mentioned about this is because what you shared seems to be pretty straightforward from
Mm.
A to B,
Yeah.
right? You have a number in your mind, you achieved it, and then because you achieve it, you proceed to B, which is you resign, and then you went on to the backpacking trip of
Yeah.
yours.
Yeah. Yeah.
On paper, it seems to be pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
I wonder if there are moments though where there is this analysis paralysis in which there could also be thoughts on I could have hold on to this job a little bit longer.
Yeah.
A month is a month, 2 months, maybe 3 months, because that will buy me more time
Yeah.
and that will bring me more money. And that will just with more money, it will buy me more financial leeway,
That's
right?
so good. Yeah.
So has there also been a phase where you were stuck in that analysis paralysis?
For sure. I think one of the things that kept me in that paralysis was I need to at least stay in 1 year so it looks good on my CV that I didn't quit early on. I knew I wanted to quit 3 months in, but I kept going because of that, saying that I need to stay for over a year. And luckily, the visa that I wanted to go on in Australia, it had a cutoff date of like 30 years of age. So I had a physical deadline. But if I didn't have that, one of the things I regret is not listening to my mind earlier. So like I told you that 3 months in that I wanted to quit because it didn't feel aligned, but I kept telling myself like maybe I'm not resilient enough, I'm not strong enough, and this is just a learning curve, it's going to get better. But 9 months went and never got better. So I knew I should have listened to my mind earlier, but I'm grateful that I stayed because it helped me save and plan like my intention of going on this trip. Because I stayed for so long, it started showing up in my body. In the last few months, I had like Meniere's disease, which is like I feel dizzy. Like when I stand up, it doesn't feel balanced, and I hear the like ringing, like for 3 weeks straight. And I was really scared. Like, what if I live with this ringing forever? Like, I would wake up. I had insomnia of like waking up every few hours of like, what if I miss this at work? Like, what if I mess up in this meeting? And just emotional exhaustion. Like I didn't have the capacity to connect with people when that's like my favorite thing to do. So I knew something was wrong. So those things were also taken into factor. Like I really need to take care of myself. And I've been putting it in the back seat, which I shouldn't do anymore.
Mm. I think looking back to your journey before you resign, what you mentioned about the different physical or psychological hints that your environment gave you, and then you choosing to ignore it. I think and all the different episodes that you did mention in your on your social media page as well. What would you say are the lessons that you've learned from those experience of going through all those and building up to your resignation to your job? What did you learn from those times?
Well, I wanted to be able to answer like, who am I outside of my career? Like this is a lesson of being able to answer that. And I feel like I couldn't answer that being in the same situation. And like, did I want a perfect CV or did I want to live a life with fewer regrets?
And why is that so important?
Because if I was so miserable considering like my success of like career wise and like if I tied my self-worth to that and it wasn't healthy, then what else can I put my self-worth to that serves me and that works for me? So I couldn't answer that while staying in the same period of my life. And if I was going to take this big leap of like unemployment, how can I maximize this year? Like, and how can I answer most of the questions I had in this short amount of time? So I think that also takes time to prep. And you know, when you watch videos of people like when they're older, they don't want regrets. Like I didn't want that for myself. Yeah.
I want to touch on the regret point, but just echoing to your journey, what I find to resonate with me as well from what you shared will be how I should have learned to listen more to myself, my gut feeling. I think when it comes to the lessons I learned through my own journey of the build up to leaving the job and going on a big sabbatical and doing something that not a lot of people, at least in our environment in Hong Kong, does. I think I tried very hard to outsmart my gut feeling
Yeah.
when the gut feeling it's always right.
Yes.
What I mean by that is I think I went into the job enjoying the job and knowing that this is what I want
Yeah.
at that time. But as time passes by, the feeling in my gut telling me that this might not be the right opportunity and right environment for you at this particular phase
Yes.
of your life grew stronger and stronger. But then I'm trying to outsmart it. maybe it's because of the whole analysis paralysis happening within me as well. I'm trying to outsmart it using my logical brain to justify why this is still the right choice for me, even though I know deep inside where I am at right now, this environment no longer serves me. It's almost like how people say the gut is where the decision is made, the mind then helps rationalize it. I feel like that is exactly what's happening to me. How the gut always knows that this is no longer the right environment for you. And my mind is trying to outsmart it. My mind is trying to tell me and rationalize all the decisions that this is still the right thing to do. I think another part that contributed to that whole rationalization is also how everyone is doing the same. It's almost coming from a place of fear, right? It feels scared to be doing something different,
Yeah.
something that no one said is wrong, but no one does it.
Yeah.
So the funny thing about no one said is wrong, but no one does it means it creates this imaginary danger of those untapped opportunities.
Yeah.
And it makes you question and second guess whether you are in the wrong of thinking of that or whether you are just weird, whether you're not resilient enough, whether you should just suck it up and continue. I think those are some of the thoughts that have been happening on me. But now that I am on the other side, I think I tried to outsmart my gut and it didn't work.
But
Yeah.
what you just said about you specifically mentioned that it's this side of the world that thinks that way, and I want to ask you because while I was traveling, I saw a lot of like European, like British, Dutch, German, who are traveling at such a young age, but I didn't get see many backpackers that are Asian. Like, did you experience the same?
I think there are a few factors. First is where you travel.
Yeah.
I was in South America and Central America where it's super far away from home.
Yeah.
So it makes sense to not have a lot of Asians around me.
Yeah.
Um, but to your point, I think it's true how in this part of the world, at least in Asian cultures, backpacking and exploring yourself is still not super normalized.
Yeah.
Um, I'll give you some example. Back to the time when I just graduated,
Yeah.
before I graduate, all my friends, literally all my friends, are trying to get a job.
Yeah.
Everyone is in job hunting mode. Everyone is trying to get the best job, those management trainees, those big brands, fancy titles, even if you're just fresh graduate.
Yeah.
Everyone is chasing that. And it didn't even cross my mind to not chase that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It didn't even cross my mind to not chase that.
Same.
Because everyone is doing the same, it makes it feel like the thing that we're chasing is the right thing to do. But in contrast, now that we've traveled and backpacked, and as you said, you've met so many different travelers, it always struck me how, for I think Europeans especially, how so many of them would decide to go on a backpacking trip or take a gap year to explore themselves, explore the world after they graduate. And it's just funny how this thought never crossed my mind, but in another side of the world, that is just a very common, natural, normalized thought. And I think that, echoing back to your point, I think that also explains why when we are traveling or when we are backpacking, there's still not a lot of Asians. I would say traveling, especially to the more advanced countries, I'll say, the more advanced countries. Um, it all ties back to what you first shared, right? The whole concept of safety. We were taught by our environment, by our upbringing, that safety is the thing that you should prioritize. And if you're doing anything but pursuing safety, you are being irresponsible. So I think that really shapes how we think.
Yeah.
And it shows even for someone like us, like me, who now know that there's so much more outside of the world. But back then, when I'm still that young, fresh graduate, all I could ever think of is to get myself a graduate job.
No, I totally agree with what you said. From exploring a different side of the world, you see people exploring life with like a nothing to lose mindset, or like very curious, adventurous, putting like intuition or like curiosity before anything. And there is really no like single correct way to live life, because like there's so many different paths people take to success, and success means different to so many other people. And I don't know, I think while traveling I learned that.
So you mentioned about two things. The first thing will be how you should respect your emotions, your feelings, back when you're still in your last job. I think the second thing is like there's so many different paths to live. Do you think you can learn those lessons sooner without going through what you have gone through?
I think without having gone through what I went through, I wouldn't have like grained it in my the lessons in my body so hard, like because I know now so strongly what doesn't work for me. And I learned like one of the great motivators is to avoid pain. And I think a lot of my drive right now comes from like never wanting to experience that feeling again of not choosing myself, or like going a path that was wished upon by someone else or that I learned was great. So I think that pain helps me stay on this track of, yeah.
You mentioned about the word regret. How do you see regret?
Having fun is like a really important thing in my life. And like my fear is not living a full life doing what I've been curious about or what I wanted to try, because it is out there and it is possible. Other people are doing it, so why can't I? And regret is something I wish I did, but I couldn't. And I don't want to have any of those. And I can gladly say that I don't think I have any regrets in my life so far, because it is something I so strongly like live by, to explore everything I want to try and give myself a chance.
Right. I want to explore a little bit more on the whole journey, like during the time when you made and decided to quit your job and go on this whole sabbatical and travel of yours. For those who are thinking to do that, or for those who are going through this exact phase right now, what lessons can you give or did you learn from that whole process?
I think one of the biggest things I learned throughout this journey is 80-20, 80 application and 20% theory. So I think normally we live in a world where people consume a lot of self improvement content, whether it's like books, podcasts, courses, or advice, but few people actually apply what they learned. And I think doing something like backpacking where you're immersed in doing, you get to do more than you while learning. So you get to practice what you've learned and really apply and live the lessons in real life. So I think it's one thing to like absorb all this theory in your head, but it's a different, like that's knowledge. But I think wisdom is knowledge embodied. So, like to turn the knowledge you learn into wisdom, you need to embody and apply it. So, and I don't think it has to be so drastic, like you need to leave, but it was really helpful. But it's just maybe adding those one, two things daily where you do things out of the box, or like you try something different and you prove to yourself that you can do it. Um, yeah,
As you said, like the just doing one thing that scares you every day,
yeah,
one tiny little thing, it builds confidence.
yeah.
It reassures you that you can do more. It helps rewire your brain that you deserve to do something completely different.
Exactly. And that you put yourself in like unsafe situations where if something new comes to you, you're not afraid of it anymore, because you put yourself there daily and you train yourself how to react to it and how to like go through it with excitement or curiosity instead of fear and resistance. And I think that's a really important skill.
I know you mentioned on your social media as well how the build up to your resignation, you were at some very low moments in your life, right?
Mhm.
Where you were seeing like a multiple therapists at a time,
Yeah.
your emotions and like dark thoughts, all these are some of the things that you've gone through. Can you bring me back to that time? What was going through firstly, but more importantly, how you managed to get out of it?
Yes. I think we touched on like I had this inner question like, am I just being weak? And is this something new that I just need to overcome? And am I not being resilient enough? And I was taught that struggle is hard work and like that is success. So I was like, okay, well, I just need to get through this. And I couldn't handle it alone. Like I was calling some friends daily, like, I really have to quit. Like, I really can't do this. And I felt bad that I was burdening my friends with like my sorrows and woes, which is like daily, same. I'm just repeating the same thing, but not doing anything about it. And I felt so much shame that, like, yes, I'm feeling it, but why am I not doing anything? So I turned to professional help where I can take my complaints or like sorrows to professional help. I think different therapists have different approaches. If one does like, I want to keep doing it, maybe like it takes time. And then I try another therapist who handles it in like a different light and nothing worked. Like, and I was like, okay, I'm spending a lot of money on this. Like, I proved to myself I am doing my best to stay resilient, but it didn't work. So, like, I need to figure it out a different way, which is set my intentions for my backpacking trip and then quit. And um the last part was, yeah, I did mention that the last end of trying to survive in this job was I had really dark thoughts of, would it be better if I just wasn't here at all? And I never associated myself with those kind of thoughts like, oh, that would never happen to me because I'm such a happy person. And I think accepting that was also hard, that I've turned into this person and it could really happen to anyone. And while I was going through it, I think no one other than my husband and some like 2 friends I've told knew that it was happening because I was still able to smile, go to work every day and act normal. But like that was the worst time of my life, but no one notices. So that made me realize, wow, you can't even spot people who are going through such a hard time because it doesn't show up like they can, if they're good at acting or putting up a front, like you'll never know. And then when I decided to post it online after I've gone through and healed that, and I shared that from a place like I was there, but I was able to get out. So the people started doubting me then, like, oh my God, why is she like sharing this? This is so uncomfortable. And I realized some parts of society gets uncomfortable with honest, dark conversations. Cause I noticed that the people that were uncomfortable were just certain parts of my friends, and people from different areas of the world didn't see that as negative at all. It's like, "Oh, wow, like, she's sharing something vulnerable and, like, she made it through." Like, that's what they saw, and then the other one's like, "Why is she being so honest? Like, this is so uncomfortable. Why is she so negative or, like, mentally ill or whatever?" And that just made me also see, like, how people view things differently.
How did you make sense of the second group then? The ones that find you weird,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that doubt about why you're being vulnerable with such a dark thoughts. How do you make sense of that now?
I think because my real close friends, they knew that, like, this is something I struggled with and I made it, and they're really happy for me that I'm being authentic and, like, expressing myself because they know I'm, like, super extroverted. But I think these people are people that don't really know me, and, like, that people that were maybe, like, acquaintances or close not really friends, and people who are, like, thriving in the Asian corporate type of success. And they're happy with that. And I'm so glad that it works for them. Or maybe they don't see the alternative life. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. The success in that. So maybe it's a bit of like they don't understand that side because this side is working for them.
If you ask me, I think it may also be they are refraining themselves to process it because they don't know how to process it. I always think how people react is a reflection of how they see themselves and how they see the world. I think their reaction speaks less about you. I think it speaks more about them. How there are definitely unprocessed and untapped territories within them that their ego is protecting themselves
Yeah.
from. That seeing how you share your story, it's almost like threatening to their sense of the world. Um, yeah, that will just be how I make sense of the second camp of people,
Yeah.
how they reacted, how interpret your situation.
That's so sweet.
Yeah.
That feels like reassuring that like I don't know that I'm doing the right thing. So like thank you for sharing that. But I also it's hard. Like I want to say like, oh, like I don't care what people think. Like of course I still do and like those thoughts did hurt me like a little bit, but I know that it comes from a place of not understanding what I've been through and how can they if they've not been through or like processed it as you said. So I won't I don't want to come from like oh they don't get me like and I think it's okay they don't need to get me and I'm learning not to get hurt from people by like thinking like oh it's more about them and it's not really about me because I'm genuinely very happy and I see the people that are really close to me even come closer. So like job done. I'm happy.
Are you happy now?
I am. I think that trip, the Australia backpacking trip I took, it's the best trip I've ever had in my life. And it's the like the last few months is the longest that I've sustained joy. Like, yes, I still have downs. I still sometimes doubt myself, like, oh, am I being too public or am I doing something? Is it not going to work? I still have those times, but generally, I know how to put myself back up. And I feel so happy with the work that I'm doing. Like, this podcast makes me so excited because this is like something I've never thought of doing actually, but it feels like a step closer to the right thing. So like thank you for inviting me to do this with you.
Yeah. No worries. I'm really glad that you enjoyed the whole process.
Yeah.
As we just chatted, I think just by thinking about our conversations that is happening right now, I think just the thought process of going through our own separate journeys is already very helpful. Obviously, being able to share and verbalize it and share with the world and our audience, I think that makes it even more special. But I thank you for accepting again, and then thank you for doing this. But this is not the end. I still got a few more things to ask. Um, I want to talk about your trip to Australia. Then I remember one thing that you shared is how this trip of yours has been your 20-year-old dream. What does it mean to have fulfilled your 20-year-old dream now?
Yeah, this was just I've never been to Australia before this and I kept postponing it cuz I needed to follow my career timeline, but I eventually realized if I keep waiting for the perfect moment it might never come. So I just did it. And what going to Australia meant was trusting myself that I can take care of myself. I can adapt quickly. I can figure things out because I've never backpacked or hosteled before this. And I grew up moving around countries and I've stayed in Hong Kong for the past 10 years and I wanted to see if I can rebuild my life. Like if I know how to make a new group of friends like and build a community there, if I can like find a job, if I can just make a living in a new place and I can trust myself that I'm able to do that. And I was choosing curiosity over fear. And now that I've done this, I can prove to myself, yes, I can. And I'm trying to bring the mindset of like being curious, being like super friendly, and like meeting new people back to Hong Kong. Cause I also learned that like I can just bring that mindset over here and experience Hong Kong like I experienced Australia.
What you said resonates quite a lot with me. I think for me going on to my trip to Central and South America, similarly, one big thing that I learned now is that I can tell myself I can do hard things. And I think that's very important because what that meant is me willing to accept where I was, acknowledging that where I was doesn't serve me anymore, and choosing to break free from that environment. That itself is one hard thing that I have done. Another thing will be, as you said, going through that almost nomadic lifestyle, backpacking places to places, for me, different countries for a pretty substantial amount of time.
Yeah.
I think that itself, I always forgot how brave it is actually to do that. It's funny how whenever I came back and shared with my friends what I did, uh, they responded by saying how brave it is for me to do what I did. And it always surprised me with their response because I almost forgot how important or how courageous it is for me to do that and for you to do your trip as well.
Yeah.
And I think also just echoing back to the point of I can now tell myself that I can do hard things. With this helps me to take on harder things in life,
Mhm.
or at least gives me the confidence that, oh, I have done that. Maybe I can take the same approach, take the same courage and apply it on my other things in life.
Yeah.
Another thing for me, I asked you about what does it mean to have your 20-year-old self dream fulfilled? Another realization is, and I got chills like just by thinking of it, is how important it is to honor the promise to your younger self. The dream that your younger self has been thinking of, honoring it and keeping the promise and actualizing it means so much to me. It's almost like I can tell myself I am the hero of my younger self.
Yeah. You are.
And I think that feeling, strangely enough, it means so much to me. And it's a very, very profound feeling. To give you another example, whenever my friends, when I just got back from my trip, my friends will ask, "Oh, so what's the best part of your trip?" Right? I think that is the typical question that people will ask. Nothing wrong with it. But my answer to that question would be not a particular place, particular people, a particular moment, but is day one of my trip. And the reason is because day one symbolized me honoring my younger self's dream, me keeping the promise to myself, having actualized that, and being able to say to you right now that I've become the hero of my younger self. It gives me a newfound strength. It's empowering for me. It gives me a lot of strength. And I would have never got this feeling if I didn't do that. And it's almost like connecting the dot backwards. I didn't even know this is something that I would be getting out of my trip.
Yeah.
And this is only something that after I've completed my trip and looking back, it makes so much sense right now. And it means the world to me.
Yeah. It's so empowering to watch you just speak the last 2 minutes because I can see that you genuinely mean and are so proud of, like, what you did for, like, the
Yeah.
younger you, and I
Yeah.
can like, I think that itself, like, that light in your eyes is, like, worth doing it for.
Yeah.
Like, so wow.
But it's strange, like how it's the last thing that I would expect myself to say. But now that I've done it is the first thing that I will ever tell myself. It's just funny. It's just funny how life works. And with this newfound strength and confidence,
Yeah.
what I'm trying to do is to apply it to other things in my life. And hopefully I can get that spark again in whatever that I dedicate my time into. Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, there are hundreds of highlights. There are tons of moments that I fucking enjoy during my trip. Like, um, but yeah, I think that will be what I will share. Yeah.
Just through listening to this part of your sharing, it reminded me to be kinder to myself because I can call you brave and courageous, like very easily for what you did, but I don't find it as easy for me to call me brave and courageous. But like it is. And I like just reminded me to be kinder to myself. So thank you.
Why is it so hard to register that thought?
I don't know. I think it's easier to appreciate and celebrate other people, but it's harder to like celebrate and be proud of what I did. Maybe it's the Asian being humble. Like, I don't think I'm humble in many areas, but like in this area, yeah. Like this area, I think this is something I can be less humble to myself and just be more grateful that I did this for myself and for my 20-year-old self.
Mm.
So thank you for reminding me.
No, no worries.
Yeah.
I think we've been talking for quite some time. I think there are just one or two last questions that I want to ask you. Um, I'm curious about the whole concept of ambition. I'll explain. There's a phrase that I read recently. It says, "The more I heal, the less ambitious I become."
Mm-hmm.
So knowing where you were,
Mm-hmm.
climbing the corporate ladder, it definitely requires certain level of ambition. I'm curious to hear your take on that statement and also how you see or how you channel that ambition right now.
Ambition. Okay. The more I heal, the less ambitious I become. So I don't know if I agree with that because I feel like I'm the most driven I've ever been in my life right now. And I think I've also the most healed. And it might not be the ambition that I was taught, like, the same thing about chasing, but I'm so ambitious right now to build something that I genuinely care about and just doing things every day that I genuinely want to do and the people I want to meet. So I don't know if I agree with this.
But it feels like, if correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels like it's still ambition, still in you,
Yeah.
but you choose to use it in places where you truly care,
Yeah.
that you find purpose,
Yeah.
that aligns with you.
Yeah.
That is how true ambition means to you now.
Yeah. And what does it mean to you?
I think similarly as well. I do consider myself as a pretty ambitious person. I think I proved myself that I am ambitious and I can be ambitious. But similarly to what you shared, I agree. I think I'm more healed than ever before. I don't know if I'm fully healed. I don't think anyone can be fully healed, but whatever that means. I think I'm the most healed that I've ever been. There are times where I doubt if that will be like downhill onwards.
Yeah.
Downhill as in ambitions will not be there. I will not be chasing what this capitalistic world needs you to chase. But then I think I come at peace with it in the way of how I explained to you. How ambition before it might be the thrill of chasing something and achieving something. I think that is maybe the old ambition that I have. Right now, the ambition is translated into yes, it's still the chase, it's still aiming for something bigger, but it's also aiming for something bigger on a topic that you care about, on something that you find purpose in. I think that is how I try to comprehend and understand the whole concept of ambition right now.
Yes. It might not look like ambition to outside, but it's ambition to you in a way.
That's very good. It might not be ambition to the outside, but it will be ambition to you.
Yeah.
And I guess what you think and what you believe is what that matters, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, interesting. So before we come to a close, I want to ask you about some advices. I've been thinking a lot on how to end these kind of podcast conversations.
Yeah.
and I'm still experimenting on it. So it will be very different every person that I met and I spoke to.
I
But
get
for
that.
yeah, but for you, I think I told you prior to this, what is the worst advice that you've received during your whole journey? And what's the best advice that you've received during your journey? Can you share me the worst first
Yes.
and then the best?
My worst advice would be like plan everything or don't plan anything. Like before going on my journey, someone told me like, "Oh, why aren't you planning everything?" and then makes them nervous. But I learned that you should do a bit of both, and I'll explain. Like plan enough so you're not stressed, but leave enough space for surprises. Um, when I first started back in Australia, I only planned the first week of my 5-week backpacking trip. And I'm used to booking my meals and marking all the sites that I want to see. Like normally, when I don't have the luxury of time and I want to cram everything
Yeah.
within the time, but I wanted to give that a change. And I thought being spontaneous would be like freeing. So, what actually happened the first week was I kept spending hours on my phone trying to book like hostels for the next days, and I wasn't fully present. So, I eventually overcorrected myself and then I booked more things like the until the end. And
All the way to your end of the trip.
yeah, like just the hostels,
Okay.
and like some excursions. And when I was in Byron Bay in Australia, I met this really cool girl like named Augustina, and then we vibed so hard, and she invited me to a bush doof. Do you know what a bush doof is?
I
It's
have
like
some
yeah.
idea of it.
So I only learned that when I was there. So it's like an Australian forest rave, like a bush doof.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So it's something I never tried, and I like one of the random experiences that can be like a lifelong memory, but I couldn't say yes because I already booked to go to like Brisbane the next day. And at first I thought like, oh, I'm gonna regret this. Like this is the wrong decision. But when I arrived in Brisbane, like the first thing I did was like go to a park, and then I met this lady who was talking to herself, and then I ended up spending the whole day with her, and like she showed me around, and like those people in the park that are just talking to themselves,
Yeah.
and like she looked like she wants to talk to someone, so I just
Right.
went up to her, and she really had so much wisdom. Like you would just like walk away and like not listen, but I'm so glad I did, because like that day became like one of the most like unexpected and meaningful experiences, which I've posted about on my Instagram as well. And I learned that you can't plan the best experiences. And at first, I made the wrong decision by missing the bush dove, but the experience I ended up having in Brisbane was something I never could have planned. Yeah.
I think the same
I'm
applies to
sure.
life.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I definitely have my fair share of those
Yeah, yeah,
experiences.
yeah, yeah.
Considering like I've been there for like I've been traveling for 7-ish months.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
There are numerous of those. But I think that attitude also applies to life, right? You can't really plan, but I guess the mindset is to make the most of the moments that you put yourself in. Um, and what's the best advice then?
I touched on this earlier, but I think doing 80% application and 20% theory, because you will make mistakes during the application, but you will also learn from the mistakes that you can't if you're just thinking about whatever theory that you've learned. So just putting yourself out there to really practice whatever theory that you want to embody, instead of just keeping it all in your head and thinking that you've learned everything already.
Would it make sense to translate into like 20% thinking, 80% doing?
Yeah, I would I would want to say being, and to make it being, because doing you're still like thinking. I think eventually you become being that theory.
Mm.
So I guess yes, 20% theory, 80% doing to become being that theory. Yeah. And yours?
I think one thing that resonates with me right now, I don't know if it's the best, but one advice that I hold on to is no one cares.
Oh, yeah.
So just risk it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the thoughts that we have, the inner talks, the things that you tell yourself are usually about how the external world will react to your actions and decisions. But in fact, everyone is the same as you, that they are just thinking about themselves.
Yeah.
And no one cares about what you do. I mean, in the short term, yes,
Yes.
but maybe after a week, I don't even remember what I ate.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So the thought of no one cares gives me the power to just risk it,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, no one cares.
Oh my god. Okay, so I'm gonna, like, put you on the spot.
Okay,
So,
no.
for the next 3 months, if you really live like no one cares, what does that look like? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna try? What are you gonna
I would want to see myself in 3 months' time
Yeah.
to at least establish a page, to share stories, and to have more conversations with different people. I think that has always been something that I enjoy a lot. No matter is when I'm traveling, obviously, but even when I'm at home, I somehow got to meet very interesting people, and each and every one of them, those encounters provides new perspective and new insights and almost wisdom to me
Yeah.
on how I live my life and how I want to see myself to be living my life. And if truly no one cares in the next 3 months, I would just continue myself being financially irresponsible and keep on traveling.
Yeah.
Because I think we can talk a lot more about travel in another podcast and episode, but to me, traveling is my therapy. And yes, it's financially irresponsible not having a job and just like spending all those money.
Yeah.
Um,
Preach.
but yes, thanks. But who cares?
Yeah. Who cares?
Yeah, who cares?
Woo!
Yeah, great. Thank you so much. And I'm very excited to see what you're about to cook as
Yeah.
well, like on the internet, and to see what you will be able to achieve with your newfound ambitions.
Watch out, world.
Yeah. Woohoo. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.